first order of business tonight is public input. Do we have anybody who wishes to be heard for public input? Seeing nobody? No, seeing nobody to be heard for public input. I see lots of people, but next student report, and we have Kristen Shevlin.
Okay, so there was 2 softball games today, both JV and varsity won. On Wednesday and Thursday, juniors and seniors will have their mock car crash during power block. Junior prom is on Friday. At the Aldersgate Church, there's a Relay for Life meeting on the 27th. Race to Nowhere is on Thursday after school for juniors and seniors. On Thursday, there's a meeting for parents and kids going to New York for their band and chorus trip. AP exams start next week. There's a Meet First North Andover on Wednesday for track, First Pentucket. There's pole vault state relays on Thursday. On Sunday, there was Division 4 relays. There's Bishop Fenwick state relays on Sunday. I-Block went really well that we had during school. There's a lacrosse game against Manchester Essex. There's boys and girls tennis this week against Amesbury. There was an E-Mark dance that was like an 80s theme 2 weeks ago that went really well. On May 1st, seniors have to have their decisions in for college. Report cards were mailed out this past week. And there's a spring student recognition night coming up. And on the 12th, North Reading Honor Society will be telling people who got him. And then for student work. For my English class, we read a book called A Prayer for Owen Meany, and we had to make a to Z book on the book, and we had to choose 20 out of the 26 letters of the alphabet and include a picture, a title, a quote, and a reason why we chose this. Yeah, that is due tomorrow.
So you're done?
Yeah.
That's good. We don't want to be keeping you from that project. You mentioned I-Block. What was that?
It was 3 weeks ago on a Wednesday. We, instead of having classes at the high school, we had we stayed with our first block class, and we went around to different activities around the school. Like there's a woman who visited Africa, and she showed us pictures. There was yoga classes, and it was just a different taste of a little bit about everything.
Did you enjoy that? Did you like
it?
It
Was
something
really
different?
Fun.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an experiential kind of things that happen in the real world, and
yeah,
it's great.
It was a nice
sounds
break.
And now you're a sophomore, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about any of the things you told us about juniors and seniors doing this and that, college decisions. You don't have to worry about any of that.
Not yet.
That's good. All right, thanks. Any questions for Kristen? Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
We have a few items I want to get to, a couple items, and then we will have the middle school make their presentation. Both these items should be fairly quick. The first thing I want to get to is Patty Bullard here? Additional preschool session. So Patty, if you want to come up and let us know what is going on there.
Thank you. Thank you. In December, the PPS office began a public information campaign in regards to the integrated pre-kindergarten program. The campaign began with a survey sent to all parents of pre-kindergarten aged children in the district, followed by an open house and registration on January 5th. The open house was successful. Currently, all slots for typical students are filled, and we have 10 children on our waiting list. Based upon this information, I would like to propose the expansion of our integrated pre-kindergarten program by 1 half-day session. This expansion will allow us to accommodate the students on our waiting list and also provide additional spots for special education students. Adding 1 half-day session will require hiring 1.5 FTE teacher and 1.4 FTE paraprofessional. After consulting with the principal of the E.E. Little School, Christine Molly, there is space in the building to accommodate the expansion. The additional staffing will increase our expenditures by approximately $30,000. However, the expansion will offset the expenditures by an increase in revenues by approximately the same amount, $30,000. So I would appreciate your consideration and approval of the expansion.
Questions?
I don't think you have to vote.
I don't think we have to vote on this. I think we
No.
just have to give our,
It is my recommendation that
Yeah.
we move forward with this additional session of preschool.
I do have two questions. Didn't, this current year, did we see a precipitous drop in preschool registration and enrollment? Or was
We-
that last year? I'm trying to remember when.
The preschool was consolidated at the little school this
And
year.
the projections were that the enrollment would decrease. However, our special education referrals increased dramatically this year.
And so now, we're not gonna centralize it this year? It's gonna be in all three schools, or?
It will still stay at the little school, but we'll add another half-day session.
Okay.
So all of the preschools will continue to be at the little school next year.
And does this say that we're doing a better job marketing, or that we will probably see larger kindergarten enrollment next year?
It could be one and the same of those two components. I believe the open house did help to generate interest and knowledge of what we provide in district for a pre-kindergarten program, and that was successful. So I do believe that was one of the variables involved in increasing our enrollment.
Okay.
And I would say that based upon that, we could project that that would increase kindergarten numbers.
Well, given that the increased tuition will fund the expansion, I don't have any issues. Anybody on the board have any issues?
No objections.
Okay,
Good idea.
great.
For your
Sounds good.
information.
Okay,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
thanks, Patty.
Thanks.
Michael and I have the same shirt on.
Almost. Well, they're two separate shirts. They
Right,
look
that's
alike.
it, right. Okay, next,
Symmetry.
we have the chair of the Secondary School Building Committee here, Chuck Carucci. So we're gonna have Chuck come up, and Kathy and Chuck and other members who want to chime in can talk about what happened last week, which is really good news, and where we go from here with the school building project. So I'll let Kathy start off. Kathy?
Well, the last SSBC meeting was on Tuesday, April 12th, and we received some information regarding the designer selection process at that time. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck, so Chuck can tell us about what took place at the MSBA Designer Selection Panel meeting.
All right, the reason I came tonight is to make sure that everybody knows I'm still around. All right. I know you get filled in from Cliff and Jerry,
Right.
and the superintendent. But we did go to Boston last Tuesday for the selection of our architect for the project. And we convinced the MSBA to go ahead and use Doran Whittier as our architect. Okay? So tomorrow night, we have a meeting, and I think we have to decide on the contract for Doran Whittier to be sent in. Okay? So that's the big thing. So we're on our way. And I don't know if anybody wants any questions answered.
No, it was an interesting process. Chuck, myself, and Laurie Witz went in as representatives of the Secondary School Building Committee. And there were, what were there, 10 members, Chuck?
10 members.
10 members from the Designer Selection Board in there, sat around the table, went over every single proposal. I think there were 13 or 14 of them. And then we voted. And Chuck did a great job. I mean, we had obviously had a consensus that we were looking at, Doran Whittier. And, Chuck did a great job in speaking on their behalf. And the selection committee supported Doran Whittier as the finalist, or as the selection for the designer. And I think for the people that are in the audience, this is for the secondary school building project. We've been at this for almost a year. We have to go through a very complicated process with the Mass School Building Administration. And we are now at the point where we have a designer, an architect that is going to move forward and begin working with the Secondary School Building Committee and the school committee to design a new secondary school facility. And so I think we're going to see some real progress over the next few months, and we're going to need the support of the entire school community and everybody else in town at some point in order to come forward with an override to support the building of the school. But right now, Chuck, I think we're at least 50%, maybe 51 or 52% reimbursement.
Reimbursement.
We got that,
if we go
so we're that
forward.
high now?
Yes.
Well, we picked up 1.5 just from the maintenance of this building.
Right, so where we have 45?
No, we're
Well, I think we were someplace around 46.
47, I think it was, but
46,
we're close to
47.
50% now as far as the, very close to it.
And there's other ways we can increase
Yes.
that
Right, yes.
reimbursement, correct?
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to come tonight, was to make sure we keep this out front with everybody. It's hard, if I don't show up or we really don't get into a dialogue with it, okay?
Cliff?
I want to just add a couple of things. The architect that finally got selected is the one that our internal selection committee recommended as the number one. And they're the same people that have been working with us for quite some time. It was a pretty exhaustive process internally to recommend them. We looked carefully at all the other packages. The other thing that I want to make sure everybody understands is that this is a collaborative process with MSBA, and that we first go through this with this architect and our owner's project manager. We will go through the feasibility study, which will look at this building renovated, the high school building renovated, all separate facilities or combined facilities. And out of that, we'll select the best of those options and then do a so-called schematic design, which will bring it up to a level where you can get good estimates on what it's going to cost, legitimate estimates, so we truly have an idea. And at that point, the MSBA board will make a recommendation that we go ahead with a certain amount of funding, and they'll present that to us. And at that point, the town has to make a decision whether they're going to move on it. And that'll go through town meeting and a vote of the town.
And I think an important thing that Cliff said that's really key for the residents to understand is this feasibility study is going to basically look at every option possible. So it's not just, we're going to look at the high school, I'm going to build a high school, or we're going to look at the middle school. We basically, and the MSBA has approved this, are going to look at all options. Do we have a joint facility? Do we have two separate projects? Do we build two new schools? Do we renovate one school building? They're going to look at everything. And it made the most sense to us, because if we just went ahead with a high school project, it could be a very long time before we had anything done here at the middle school. Now, that may be the final recommendation. We don't know. But we wanted to have that option of looking at everything, because we think that's the smartest thing to do at this point.
And I think we're going to see, things are going to move now. We have a project manager, we have an architect, and I think we're going to really see some progress over the next 3 or 4 months. And hopefully we can have something to show everybody in the next 3 or 4 months.
And on that timeline, is January probably when we're looking at some sort of town meeting, Chuck?
Well, yeah, we're hoping to get everything back through October, in October town meeting as far as what'll be out there.
Right.
Okay, and then I don't know if we'd be ready for a general election. I think we may have to go for a special.
Well, we're going to have to do a special election no matter what,
Right.
because there's no November election
That's
this year.
right, this year is.
So we
there's
have to have a
nothing
special
happening.
election, yeah.
But we have to, once the MSBA approves our project, we have
20 days.
120 days to
Right.
get it through all our approval processes, which is basically
Town meeting.
and then an election.
Oh, yeah.
So when do we think it'll get to MSBA? August?
Probably August to
September?
September. Yeah, August to September. We were behind a little bit. Now we've picked up the pace as far as the selection of the architect. So we should be ready sometime between August and September for that.
So
But
if
we're
it's-
going to get one shot at this reimbursement thing. I mean, we have 120 days after approval by the MSBA to get the approvals. If we don't get it approved, we simply just come off the list and somebody else takes our place. So it's going to be a question of whether or not we can come up with something that the community is going to be willing to buy into and invest in, and if that's the case, then we can move forward.
And to address one other issue, I know there's always concern in this town and probably other towns as to, well, if you build a new school, what are you doing with the old building? It's hard for anybody to say right now what we're doing with any old building, because we don't know what the recommended project is going to be. So until we know what the MSBA is going to recommend, working with us and our architects, we can't say, well, we're going to do this with the high school, because we don't know.
No, not only that, but the plan very well might incorporate and include all of that.
Right.
As to what's going to happen with both buildings. So that'll be hopefully that'll be part of the study.
I think eventually, when we get the study done, we'll have a much better idea what we're going to do with our existing facilities. But it's very exciting. This is the farthest we've gone with this project, and
Yeah.
you can I remember when the batch started moving, and you start getting the architect on board, and this is when it gets really exciting for the kids, for the teachers, for the administration, and hopefully for the town. And that's the excitement and momentum we need to build in the town to get this
That's
think
why I
through.
wanted to